And we're here with Alicia Reece. Thanks so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
We have several questions we want to ask you, so let's jump right in. First question, the county has had to cut its budget several times over the years. How can we address these budget deficits?
Yeah, well, I think one of the things is we need a new, bold vision for the county. We've kind of been reactionary when we could be proactive. One of the reasons I'm running is that you see the city and the county, you read all the headlines, they're fighting and can't get along and sometimes have some impasse. But I think I could be a bridge because I've been the vice mayor of the city of Cincinnati. I've represented the whole city, but I've also represented parts in the county, whether it's Norwood or Deer Park or Lincoln Heights, in addition to the city or Springfield Township. And so the first way we got to do is be able to work together on a lot of projects, which will help us, I think, in saving money. The other thing is making sure that we're getting the right kinds of deals. The Bengals deal will be coming up, will have to be renegotiated, and you know, anything that changes the original deal that the people voted on, for example, a new tailgate facility that's costing about $30 million that's going to cost to move Hilltop. That's $30 million that we could have put in to mental health. I want to have a new mental health facilities, services, dealing with the opioid crisis and the addiction crisis. So I think it's a matter of where we put our priorities, but then also being a county of real economic development to bring businesses and industries into our county so there's a place where more people want to live, work, and they can afford to be here.
And interesting, you brought up the opioid question, or the opioid epidemic. That goes into our next question. There have been slight reductions in the number of people dying of overdoses from the opioid epidemic, you know, nationwide, but now law enforcement seeing more methamphetamine coming into the area. How can the county commission address that and get ahead of it?
Well, I think they made a good step with the opioid task force, where you brought all of the entities throughout the 49 municipalities, with including law enforcement, including health officials, including elected officials. But I think it just went to opioid. What I think it needs to be is addiction, because once we see a reduction in something else, the drug dealer comes with a new product, a new thing that's on the street. So if we have a task force that deals with addiction in general, then we're ready to deal with whatever is presented in our county, and we're able to fight whatever is trending and coming here, and even stop it from coming. So I'd like the task force to be expanded that will deal with addiction as a whole, and then we'll be ready to fight whatever tries to come into our county.
Do you support issue 7?
Oh, absolutely. I support issue 7. It's important for us to have transportation where people can get to the jobs. We have the jobs, but can't get people there. We've got the people, but can't get them to the jobs. And so I think that's very important, issue 7. It gets us a regional approach to transportation, but it also gives the county a seat at the table. We will have the majority of the appointments to the SORTA board. We'll be able to lead the transportation discussion. It also, in addition to that, it will bring in almost $30 million plus for us to be able to do infrastructure, start to put a plan together for the Western Hills Viaduct to get that repaired, also repairs that are throughout the county. So I think it's definitely a step in the right direction, and I encourage people to support it.
Do you support a sales tax increase to help balance the budget?
Well, I think any tax should go to the voters. Just like issue 7 is going to the voters, it needs to go to the voters. Just like I said, any new deal with the Bengals must go to the voters. And I think that makes me a little different than some of my opponents. I'd like to see that tax that was put on, if I was there, I would have voted for it to go to the voters so that the voters can decide, because, you know, people are dealing with trying to make those ends meet. And we've got to make sure that the people, our taxpayers, our investors, our stockholders, are saying this is what we want to do, and we're willing to pay for it.
How can the county maximize its resources with things like a budget deficit?
Well, one of the ways is I'm looking at having a plan for the entire county that brings all the municipalities together to look at what they're doing and what they're doing as it relates to economic development. I've been campaigning throughout the county, and I have people in Forest Park say, hey, we've got a plan, but we're not plugged in. I've been in Norwood. We've got a plan, but we haven't been plugged in. I've been out in Montford Heights and Green Township. We've got some plans. So we have all these silos of plans, but we don't have it as a map, a roadmap to say, okay, well, we do this, it affects this. How does this affect affordable housing? How do we bring technology, not just in downtown Cincinnati, but throughout the county, because that's the future. How do we become a county where people look at us and say, how do we do it? The only way we do that is to have all 49 municipalities have an overall plan and a roadmap where we're not just playing defense and being reactionary, but let's have a vision for moving our county forward.
And how can the current county commission improve?
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, we're going to be having a new election, and there's going to be someone taking that seat, and I certainly ask for people to vote for Alicia Reece, and I think that would allow me to bring my strengths along with the other commissioners and their strengths, so that we can have a vision as we move forward. This is a new decade. This will be a new county commission. There are new opportunities for us to be a bridge, work together, have one Hamilton County, and no more Cincinnati versus the county, because Cincinnati is a part of the county.
And finally, you know, Local 12, we made a long-term commitment to solving childhood poverty in this area. It's a major issue. What can the county commission do to address that issue?
Yeah, well, one big thing is that jobs and family services. The director has left and gone on to United Way, and there's going to have to be an opening. And we can decide, where do we go with jobs and family services? It is the safety net of the county. It's where seniors go when they need help, where veterans go when they need help, where children go in foster care, and people go who need help, being able to, who are having difficult times. And so I think jobs and family services must be a major partner and player in fighting against childhood poverty and all poverty, and because it is the safety net, and without it, everything just falls apart because we don't have a safety net. And so I'm really wanting to focus in my campaign. It says one of our major issues is jobs and family services. Another issue for us is wanting to make sure that we have employment opportunities. When I was at the state, I fought for $2.5 million additional money for 14-year-olds to be employed. And I want to see us have what Cincinnati had, a CCY. I'd like to do a remix of that. When I was at council, we had over 2,000 youth employed. I'd like to see that countywide. When young people are working and doing paid internships, have mentors during the summertime, you don't know what it would do to turn their lives around, to be able to see something besides poverty, to be able to get a paycheck, not get taken into drugs and taken into the street programs. And I told the governor when I was a state representative, I said, my program, the government, we've got to get to the kids before the street program gets to them. And I think jobs and family services and having a robust youth employment training and internship program, I think will certainly be a partner in what Channel 12 is trying to do.
Great. Thank you so much, Alicia Reece, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.